On today's episode of Time About the Movies, with Twilight coming to a close later in the year, it's time for another big young adult franchise to go from the books to the big screen, this time with The Hunger Games. And I said last time around that we have a sequel to The Raid, and I was completely wrong on that. The Raid Redemption is actually the first movie. There is a sequel, but that's still 2 years down the road. So we'll take a look at The Raid Redemption along with The Hunger Games. It's March 23rd, 2012. This is, of course, Time About the Movies. Let's go. Yes, I'd like to volunteer as tribute too. I mean, come on, it's Jennifer Lawrence. I mean, who else wouldn't want to be in that situation? Welcome to Time About the Movies. Today we are taking a look at the two movies released on March 23rd, 2012. And, of course, the biggest of the two new releases is, of course, The Hunger Games, based off the series of books by Suzanne Collins. And like I said in the beginning, Twilight's last movie's coming out at the end of the year, so that means it's time for another big, popular young adult book franchise to become the next big film franchise. And unlike some of the other ones we've taken a look at that tried and failed miserably, like Beastly and Red Riding Hood, this one turned out to be a whole lot better than the Twilight books did. But this story takes place in a dystopian post-apocalyptic future in the nation of Panem, which consists of a wealthy capital surrounded by 12 less affluent districts. As punishment for a past rebellion against the government, the capital initiates the Hunger Games, a televised annual event in which one boy and one girl from each of the 12 districts are selected in a lottery as tributes and are required to fight to the death in an arena until there is one remaining victor. When the protagonist, Katniss Everdeen, played by Jennifer Lawrence, hears her younger sister's name called as the female tribute for her district, she volunteers to take her place in order to save her from having to participate. Joined by her district's male tribute, Peter Millard, played by Josh Hutcherson, Katniss travels to the capital to train for the Hunger Games under the guidance of former victor Hamish Abernathy, played by Woody Harrelson, expressing resentment for both the capital and its populace for forcing her and her fellow tributes to fight to the death for their own amusement. And yeah, like I said, this was one of those big surprises that I really did not see coming whatsoever. I mean, this was a movie that really was very, very well done. I mean, I really enjoyed the hell out of this movie. I thought it was very entertaining. You really do feel for a lot of the main characters overall. The casting overall is great. I mean, Jennifer Lawrence is really good in the movie, and I think Katniss Everdeen is probably one of my favorite recent female characters we've gotten. Like, you really do get behind her, and her, you know, she did everything. She's risking her own life to save her younger sister's life, but also the whole thing is that she's leading this rebellion against this event that happens every year. And it's a really good performance overall, and a very good year for Jennifer Lawrence as a whole. Who, of course, will later win an Oscar for her work in the Silver Linings Playbook, but we'll save that for later on at the end of the year. But excuse me. You know, Josh Hutcherson's really good too. I never thought he was a bad actor per se, but you know, in films like Bridge to Terabithia and Kicking and Screaming, he has definitely improved since then, which really isn't saying a whole lot because he. Good Lord, I don't know what's going on with me, but what I'm trying to say is he's gotten a whole lot better ever since those movies back in the day. But Stanley Tucci's actually pretty fun too, playing the talk show host, kind of Hunger Games announcer. The rest of the cast is also really good in here. Elizabeth Banks is pretty good in here. Woody Harrelson gives a good performance. Even Liam Hemsworth is actually not that bad. It moves at a good enough pace, too. It's a movie that is over 2.5 hours long, and yet it doesn't feel long. It didn't feel that long to me, especially considering my biggest pet peeve with blockbusters at that time was kind of like, you know, they're way too long. It's a movie that's over 2.5 hours long is way too much. This one surprisingly keeps you on the edge of your seat. I mean, it keeps you invested in the storyline, and you never realize that you're sitting in there for almost 3 hours, if you're including trailers. The games themselves are also very thrilling to watch, too. You do get fascinated by watching this last act and seeing what's going to happen, you know, who's going to survive this, even though it's obvious they're not going to kill off the main leads because they're already signed on to future films. It's the equivalent of episodes where, you know, episodes of The Simpsons where Homer's going to die, and, you know, they're saying you have 24 hours to live, and then it turns out that, you know, he's alive at the end because they wouldn't kill off the main character of a show like The Simpsons. You know, I'm sorry, I don't know what's going on with me today. I had Dairy Queen for dinner. Maybe that was it. But no, I'm fine. But yeah, if you don't know what I was talking about before, watch the September video I did for that up in the corner there. Still going on for the next couple of days for this year too. But But I digress. In terms of things I really didn't like about this movie, it's just kind of nitpicky things. I hate it when they consistently kept saying, may the odds be ever in your favor. Like, they're trying to make that the next big catchphrase. It's like when G.I. Joe says, knowing's half the battle 4 times in that movie. And then Transformers, everyone's got to say, like, more than meets the eye. It just feels like you're forcing a line that you think is going to be the next buzzy thing, and it's just never going to happen, man. I'm like a Mean Girl's, just like, stop making fetch happen. It's never going to happen. Like, stop making may the odds be ever in your favor happen, because it's never going to happen. Other than that, though, nobody else really brought the movie down for me. I mean, the shaky cam stuff, I got used to it. I don't have a problem with it like most people did. The best thing that I really liked about this movie, and it's definitely a really good thing about the film, is simply this. And it's not really much of a surprise either. It's just the fact that the movie beats the shit out of anything the Twilight movies have ever done. It's everything the Twilight does wrong, the Hunger Games does right. And that's the best thing you could say about this movie. Katniss isn't the obnoxious bitch that Bella is. The love triangle between her, Peter, and Gale is really believable, unlike the one that Twilight tries to pull with Bella, Edward, and Jacob, which is all bullcrap. And above all, the writing is so much better, while the writing in Twilight feels like something out of a bad Jason Freeberg, Aaron Stelter spoof movie. Yeah, that's how bad it is. But this movie does everything right that Twilight did so wrong. This is not a perfect movie by any means necessary, but it's an enjoyable movie. You get attached to the characters, the casting is very good, the writing is very good, the games are actually action-packed, situations that happen are very well done, and you do get excited for where the story is going to go with the next film, which I think is honestly one of the best action sequels I've ever seen in my life. But we'll save that when we get to Catching Fire next November in 2013. But I really enjoyed The Hunger Games a lot. I think it's a very good film, very fun film. I enjoyed the hell out of it. The Hunger Games is really, really good stuff. So with that said, let's go ahead and move on to the other movie we have this weekend, and that is The Raid Redemption.
The Raid Redemption, rated R, starts Friday, only in theaters.
Why does the announcer sound like a WWE announcer? It's like, now playing only in theaters, brother. Like it's like Hulk Hogan just came back from the dead, which technically wouldn't happen because he just died recently. But, yeah, you want to know how confusing this whole thing is? I thought this was a sequel. Turns out it's not a sequel. It's called The Raid Redemption here in the States, but in Indonesia, where this came from, it's called The Raid. Why did you change the title for that? Like, that makes no sense whatsoever. But, anyway, let's get to the actual movie itself. The film follows an Indonesian National Police Tactical Squad that is deployed to raid a ruthless drug lord's apartment block in the slums of Jakarta, only to be encircled by the criminals, forcing them to fight their way through the complex. This is directed by Gareth Evans. Gareth Evans is the same man that also would give us, he also did VHS 2, and they also did recently Havoc. He also did the sequel, The Raid 2. But, yeah, despite everything about the title and all that, this is actually a really fun movie. This is a really cool, slick action movie with a lot of really cool action sequences overall. It's amazing that I'm actually kind of surprised that a lot of the people that this guy hasn't gone on to direct other big action movies here in the States, like something like taking the stuff from David Leitch's route, like directing stuff like the John Wick movies and all that. But he hasn't directed anything of true noteworthiness except for The Raid 2 and a little bit from VHS 2. He recently just did Havoc, which looks like something that went straight to DVD, but I don't know. But I mean, I wish he would have done a big action movie, because this guy actually has a lot of potential overall. The action sequences are really cool to watch. The look of the film is slick and stylish. It's a really impressively done movie. It's a very engaging film. It keeps you on the edge of your seat. You really are impressed by what's going on here. The score overall is really good. I really enjoyed the hell out of it. I thought it was a really good movie overall. Definitely worth checking out. And we will eventually get to The Raid 2 in 2014, the real sequel to The Raid. And thus, with all that said, we wrap up another edition of Time About the Movies, and we'll wrap March up on the next episode with a less than spectacular week, unlike this week. We have the sequel that nobody was asking for to the remake that nobody wanted, Wrath of the Titans. And we also have easily the worst of the two live-action Snow White movies released in 2012. Like, if you thought Disney's Snow White was bad, you haven't seen Tarsem Singh's horrendous Mirror Mirror. That movie is... Let's just say that next time around, I'm not going to be happy to talk about that movie. But it's one of those weeks we have to get through here, so we'll take a look at those two movies coming up tomorrow on the show, so be on the lookout for that. But with all of that said, thank you so much for watching this, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, do me the honor and going ahead and hitting that like button, that subscribe button, and that notification button. Also, don't forget to check out our playlist, and don't forget to check out the last episode we did. So with all that said, I am off. Whether it's in the past, the present, or the future. I almost went to my older ending to the show here, but let me go back and do this again. With all of that said, whether it's in the past, the present, or the future, I will see you at the movies. I need to go and take a long nap, so I'll see you guys tomorrow. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Take care. Good night.